Well, today we got the news. Rand Paul is hoping to engage a younger, broader group of voters than Republicans usually get. So will his libertarian message resonate in Silicon Valley? Let's ask our panel. In fact, we have a representative from Silicon Valley, Rich Karlgaard, Forbes magazine publisher, along with Sabrina Schaeffer, Independent Women's Forum executive director, and Fox Business's Cheryl Casone. So, Rich, we've known for a while that Silicon Valley leans to the left, but they also have very strong libertarian instincts. Do you think Rand will go over well there?
I think he could do very well. One of the better-known billionaires in Silicon Valley is Peter Thiel, who created his fortune from PayPal and various other investments. Big supporter of Rand Paul. You know, the leftism in Silicon Valley, I think you get from the fact that the CEOs of Apple and Google lobby a lot, but the real beating heart of Silicon Valley is still very libertarian.
Sabrina, what do you think about Rand and Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I think Rich is onto something. And of course, we're thinking of Silicon Valley as sort of democratic leaning and progressively, culturally progressive. And they're going to be more attracted to someone like Paul than to one of maybe the more establishment GOP contenders. What's also interesting, though, is that Silicon Valley in recent years has become a lot more politically motivated, a lot more politically organized and engaged. And we're seeing this a lot on the social side, certainly with the religious freedom issues, but also on the big ticket issues like net neutrality and privacy. And I think Rand Paul is on the right side of history with those.
Cheryl, we just had Anthony Scaramucci saying that the ante to get into a race is $15 million. I mean, one of these Silicon Valley billionaires could write a check like that without thinking about it. I mean, there's a lot of cash there.
Well, and they may have a business motivation. If you look at some previous statements from Rand Paul, one thing that he said that I found very interesting, he was talking about Cuba, asked about Cuba and our new open door policy with them, and he said, obviously isolating the Cuban government has not worked. He said, let's overwhelm the Castro regime with iPhones, iPads, American cars, American ingenuity. He wrote that back in December. So maybe if he's going to support Silicon Valley pushing a bunch of gadgets down to Cuba, yeah, they'll vote for him. They'll support him, sure.
All right. Well, let's talk about entrepreneurism right here. While the number of new businesses has actually decreased in recent years, people from all over the world still flock to the United States to start new businesses. So, Sabrina, obviously, we could do a lot more to make this a more entrepreneurial place, but aren't we still the best at it?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I think it runs deep in the American social fabric, is this sense of, entrepreneurship and self-improvement. That being said, there's a lot of things down here in Washington that can stand in the way. If we look at something like Obamacare, we see that this is, causing businesses to contract. It's causing other businesses not to start. If we see the micromanaging of wages and benefits, these are all the kinds of policies that will prevent the creative minds out there from wanting to take the risks that are associated with entrepreneurship.
Cheryl, just a little anecdote. And I know the anecdote doesn't make a case for anything, but still, in New York right now, I meet a lot of Parisians who've come here saying, God, we can't deal with the taxes in Paris or the new regulations there, et cetera. New York is our kind of place, but it's easier to start a business.
Well, I think to start a business, sure, but I think on the other side of being entrepreneurial or developing new things, I heard healthcare mentioned there for just a moment. Really, if you look at what the Israelis are doing with regards to new therapies for different cancers and brain diseases, the French as well, the Germans, when it comes to cancer research, they're way ahead of us, really. So I have to say, maybe we're better to start a business if you want to start a dry cleaning business, but if you really want to make some changes to the world and do some good, I'm not so sure that America is really the best place to do it because of regulation.
That's kind of pessimistic. Rich, what do you think?
Well, I would put Silicon Valley up against Israel any day, even though I'm a huge admirer of Israel. I think Israel has deeper problems. Look, if you want to be a lawyer or you want to be an accountant, you go into law or accounting. Entrepreneurs want to be neither. They just want to create products and run a business, but now they're forced to be accountants and lawyers to run their business, and that's what's really hurting small business.
And there's still a lot of people, both the smart people and uneducated people, dying to get in the United States right now. Thank you, gang. More